Hello and welcome to Spoilercast by All Tower Media. This is Roper here. We are joined with Jarreth. How are you? Yep, that sounds right. And Shawn, how are you?
What's up?
You don't have one in the chamber, do you?
No, I don't.
Nah, that's all right. Hey, Dyer.
Yo.
How are you?
Peachy.
Good deal. How's things over here at Spellbook Studios?
Awesome.
Yeah, you got stuff going on?
We do have stuff going on. We've got a bit of a problem right
What's
now
that?
in Heroes of Dire, actually.
What is it?
A lot of Huppos have been freed, and they are severely inequipped to handle the dire situation.
Yeah?
So it's up to you guys to help out these Huppos, get them armed for war.
Shawn, arm a Huppo.
Okay.
Only you can arm a Huppo.
Does that mean, like, equip him with arms, like my arms?
Bear arms.
Bear arms.
Bear arms.
Yeah.
Can I give him bare feet?
No.
No.
Can I
they
just
need
turn him
arms.
into a bear?
No.
They need armaments.
Yeah, they need arms.
Turn him into a buppo? A bear huppo?
Buppo?
That would be terrifying.
Yeah, it would be terrifying. Terrifyingly awesome.
I mean, it's already a problem, because...
I forgot. I feel like I need to clarify. Is this the PG version?
No.
Okay.
No.
This is Spoilercast, motherfucker.
This is the fucking raw version.
This is Spoilercast, motherfucker. Because we had to beep Jarreth on the last episode.
Yep.
He got a beep.
It's a Kratos-looking motherfucker.
He did, and then he was like, whoopsies. Yeah, it happens, though. So, get over there and do that. You guys should totally make a Huppo that could, be like a druid that can then turn into something else.
Or
like,
that just
like
has
a bear.
Or that just has bare hands and feet.
Oddly enough, that is something way down the totem pole of things to do.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
Is a class of, I'm using bunny ear quotes, but druid type class.
Yeah.
Shape-shifting
Oh
class.
my God, that'd be super cool. Because it would be, that makes
Wait,
that makes it ludicrous
hold
in my
on.
mind.
Could there be a were-person Huppo? So it's like, it's a
Wuppo?
So it's a Huppo that was bitten by a person, and now on the full moon turns into a
A human.
human.
I will walk into Ozzy's office Monday with that idea.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. See, all of those things are just ludicrous in my brain. They all sound awful,
And
so they sound wonderful.
Maybe, just maybe, the entire game is all Huppos that have been bitten by one human, and the rest of the races are human now.
So they're all cursed to
They
be
are
humans?
yeah.
They're all cursed. Yeah, there you go. I love that. And then sometime down the line...
So this is actually like a human apocalypse. The Huppos are holding out against the humans.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Hip-Hop Anonymous?
Hip-hop?
Hip-Hop Anonymous? So Guardians of the Galaxy is a good movie.
I heard that.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is even better.
I heard that.
Hey, Shawn.
Is it?
Have you seen this movie?
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the first one?
I saw the first one.
How about
yeah.
the second one?
Is it out yet?
Yeah.
Dude, are you fucking serious?
Have you seen this?
And you wanted to be on for this episode?
Have you been on?
Yes, I fucking seen it.
God damn.
There's a bear shit in the woods.
I mean,
don't
when
actually,
it's in the fucking
you know,
woods.
Sometimes.
If shit's in the zoo when it's in the fucking zoo.
He's got a point.
I always thought it was there's a Pope shit in the woods.
Does the Pope jerk off into a sacramental cup so he doesn't waste seed?
I mean, maybe on Sundays.
I guess.
I want to know what the blessed radius of the Pope is.
It's about 60 feet.
Oh my god! I just found tea out my nose!
He was taking a drink of tea. Jarreth has killed Shawn.
Blast radius of the pump.
Okay, everyone. Whew. Okay, game face. Hi.
Guardians
Hi.
of the Galaxy
Guardians
Volume
of the Galaxy
2.
Volume 2.
What did you think?
Shawn, what did you think?
Fucking spectacular.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Super, super, super good.
What's your favorite part?
Fuck the whole fucking movie.
Right?
Drax.
Right?
Drax was
Was
fucking
this
awesome.
like his moment?
Dude, we were in the very tail end of Spellcast just a minute ago. I was like, we made reference to cranking something up to 11. And then I turn around and I'm like, speaking of, that's exactly what they did with Drax and all of his nonsense that they did with this movie.
Yeah.
Everything about Drax in this was just funny as can be.
I read an article a while back, and I can't say for certain if it's 100% true, especially in the age of...
Fake news.
the age of...
Fake news.
Well, I was going to go specifically with the articles you get linked off of Facebook.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Nine out of 10 of those, they've got no sources, and I'm not bothering to hunt them down.
But the article
Right.
said...
And it was talking about the people who, went out to get parts on Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, they apparently whenever Chris Pratt went in and he was like, I want to be Star-Lord, and they were like, great, you've totally got the job, we had you in mind, and he was like, cool, I'm going to go, like, get in shape. They're like, you don't have to do that, and he was like, I'm doing it. And then he went and he got ripped. But apparently, is it
Dave Bautista?
Dave Bautista, whenever he got, like, the callback for it, he, like, got super excited and went out and, like, took, like, a bunch of extra acting classes.
I love it.
Trying to be ready.
I love him.
You know what though? That is the shit. The show that he's like so committed to wanting to not fuck it up.
But you were worried about it when you first heard about him being cast for it.
Actually, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw obviously they announced Guardians was coming.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, James Gunn. Oh God, Guardians. And then I was looking at the cast and I was like, Dave Bautista.
Really?
And I'm like, wait a second, I know him from someplace.
Yeah, you do.
You have to keep in mind that I'm like normal society. I'm not on the fringe of people who are over the age of 6, past 1990, who still watch wrestling.
Right.
So
What the fuck are you trying to say?
So I was like, fuck, I know him from someplace, and he's a massive star, but where? And then I was talking to a friend, and he's like, dude, he's like a badass wrestler. And I was like, that's where he's from. And then all of a sudden, my mind was like, oh, but
Right.
WWE and Guardians of the Galaxy? And I seriously was on the fence. I'm like, I can picture him as a character. And then, my friend, Dave was like, dude, that's all he does for a living is act. It's not Hollywood, but he pretends, and he's really fucking good at it. And I'm like, all right. So,
but that definitely, like, if that is true, like the he went out and he took acting, he's definitely filled in that gap between 1 and 2.
Right.
oh God, yeah, he's really good.
There's dangers with bringing a wrestler in. You can go the Hulk Hogan route, or you can get The Rock.
Have you listened to the Hulk's music? He had a band and stuff.
Oh God, no! Stop, please.
You haven't
End there.
You haven't?
No,
you haven't seen it.
No, my brain can only handle so much
I listened
shit.
to it the other night. It's not. He took himself pretty seriously.
Yeah, so did David Hasselhoff. Okay,
He's in this movie.
okay.
David Hasselhoff is in Guardians of the
God.
Galaxy 2.
So did
What?
So what was the running back?
No,
or rap?
he is
Full stop.
Yeah, he is in it. Twice he's in it.
I've got to see it now.
He's in it.
David
Like,
Hasselhoff is like my god.
he is the first
He
time
is a god.
he's
Hold on.
actually Ego becomes David Hasselhoff
for a second.
Fucking A.
for a second. Yeah,
Because-
he himself is embodied there, but they show a picture of him. Star-Lord keeps it in his pocket, and he's like, "This is my dad." He's off, recording an episode of Knight Rider, or fill in the blank with
Because
whatever
his dad
he's
wasn't
doing.
around when he was a
Right.
kid,
Right.
so that's
So,
what
yeah.
he told all the other kids. Is
Yeah,
his dad
that's
is,
who his dad is, and
David
that's
Hasselhoff.
super sad. Yeah, and then suddenly,
Which is dope.
like partway through this, which I don't know where Ego got that information from, because suddenly he's like, "I tried to pick the right form for you," and then like turns into David Hasselhoff, and you're like, "What?"
I mean, it could have been brought up, or
You think?
maybe he can read minds a little bit. Who the fuck
I
knows?
would buy that before I would think it was brought up.
There was a kid in high school that claimed that his dad owned the semi-truck from the Enter Sandman video, and Metallica borrowed it.
Well, I mean,
That's
they
like
got to get
such
it
a-
from somewhere.
We call him a
Video.
fucking idiot.
Well,
That's
I mean,
such like a weirdly specific.
yeah,
thing.
that's why I would buy it, is because it's like, really? Are you
Weirdly
seriously
specific, yeah.
because it's like that. Anyhow, so
But with Drax, on the topic of
Yeah.
Drax, it was amazing to me because there's all the trailers and stuff, and there's a lot of jokes of his in those trailers that
Yes.
are super funny.
Mm-hmm. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and I assumed, as I often do with trailers nowadays,
that was it. Everything you needed
that
to
was
see
the
was in the
funniest
trailer.
things I was going to see.
Yep.
But those were the dumbest things that he said.
did.
Those were the least funny, and they were
His
fucking
interactions
funny.
with Mantis were the best thing. In the
You are
fucking movie.
hideous.
Oh my God!
The whole-
or what about the end where he's
You're
like,
beautiful.
You're beautiful
On
the inside, yeah.
And
At
what's great about that is it's his delivery. It's
Oh, yeah.
so perfect.
See,
It's so
the-
like
the
if he
argument-
wanted to,
the
like
argument
if he
that
wrote
he
some good
had-
material, he could be a fantastic comedian. His delivery is amazing.
The moment that he had, and I loved this line. He's looking at Mantis, right, and she's the chick with the antennas that hid. Yeah, okay. So Dyer's nodding at me. He knows what I'm talking about.
Trailer and spoilers.
Yeah,
all
from the
that.
trailers, it's the chick that's there running around. She's got the antennas, and she's there with Ego and all that good stuff. Anyhow, so he looks at her, and he was like, "So you're like Ego's pet?" And she's like, "Yeah, kind of." And he goes, "Most people want cute pets. You're hideous. And she's like, oh. And so she's like all down about it. And he's like, no, it's okay. When you're ugly and somebody loves you, that means they truly love you. Beautiful people never know who truly loves them. And you're like,
no, they never know who to trust.
yeah, they never know who to trust. And you're like,
and as callous and like so Drax as he was being,
Right.
there was literally a profound statement.
and you're like,
Yeah.
holy
Yeah.
crap, holy crap. And then she's like he's looking out.
And she's like, I'm glad I'm ugly.
I'm super glad I'm ugly. And then, then Gamora shows up and she's like, what are you guys talking about? And she's like, I'm horrible looking.
I'm hideous.
I'm hideous.
Yeah. But she's sitting there and she has this empath ability. She can touch somebody and feel what it is they're feeling, right? Mm-hmm. Or she can slightly alter it and things of that nature. And that becomes pivotable.
Pivotal.
It was pivotable. That's why
Yes.
it was able to
There
be
you go.
pivoted.
Yes, there you go. So it's very useful at a later point in time during the movie. But when you first are introduced to it, that's when you get the joke where she touches Peter and
The sexual
and she's
love
like,
thing.
oh, I feel love, sexual love towards her. And yeah, but she can put somebody to sleep. And that moment when she touches Drake, he's like, do me.
And he's just head.
She touches him,
back.
and she's like, sleep. And he's just like, and he just flops straight over, and he is out cold. It's funny as can be, but you can see how much hurt is inside Drax, thanks to her as well. Because when he's looking out across this whole area,
Well, I mean, his
like-
backstory already is super tragic,
Yeah,
right?
his
He's
whole-
avenging the death of his family.
yeah, his children and so he's sitting here and he's looking out across this, and he looks tranquil, right? He doesn't look messed up. He
then
looks
she touches
calm,
him.
and he's like, "This reminds me of doing this with my daughter." And he's just, or was this his daughter? Or was,
Yep.
It was his daughter.
Yeah,
was
so
his
he's
daughter.
sitting here and he's looking out across all
It was
this
like
stuff.
the Forgotten Lakes or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was something like that. And so she reaches over and she touches his shoulder, and immediately she like doubles over and starts crying. And like you can just like, you are hurting. Oh my God. Like for me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're like dying on the inside, aren't you? Like always. Like this is how no matter how much you're laughing and how much joy you have, that's like what you are. That's what's dwelling within you. And that it hurts me. It makes me feel bad for you. And you're an imaginary character. And like,
he's the great thing about this movie is it showed there's so much more to Drax.
Right.
And what's cool about this movie is while still retaining the amazing humor of the first one, okay,
It's got
the
a lot more
fantastic
emotional
action,
depth.
This has so much more meat on its bones. I
Yep.
mean, this movie is far deeper than the first
Yep.
one.
Yep.
And what's great is you get to
It's
see
more
a
of
deeper layer
everything.
of every character.
Yep.
So every character gets more in depth. You get to see a little more of what's going on. I mean, Gamora and Nebula and their internal drama through childhood.
him. She
and
hugs her.
Drax and his ridiculously, insanely, deeply fucked up like turmoil inside.
but he's always happy and laughing.
Peter, I
and,
know.
Yeah, it's,
and but talk about a strong human being or
Right.
strong creature.
Yeah.
To be able to exhibit that much laughter, love, and joy in life after everything you've cherished has been taken away.
right.
Well, I mean,
And
he's
then
only
you get
got
to see-
one other option, and that's die.
You get to see Rocket's internal drama and that moment between
Which
him and
we
Yondu.
get that little bit of we get a look at it in one that like
Just
that
a tiny bit.
self-loathing.
Yeah,
that
just
part
a
where
tiny
he's
bit.
like, I didn't ask to be made.
But they really dig into it here in that
Yep.
scene with him and Yondu, which is really great. And then, of course, Peter's like in depth, just internal drama because this movie was about Peter, and what he's dealing with and finding himself and his place in all of this, and then becoming stronger as a result of all that.
Right.
But Drax, fantastic. Fucking Baby Groot.
Yep.
Literally, I told my wife, I leaned over and I'm like, I'm going to decorate the shit out of the house in Baby Groot shit. All over the place, hidden, there's going to be Baby Groot fucking shit. Like little Baby Groot figures.
Little tiny Baby
It'll
Groot
be
poop.
just inner jokes,
Baby-
inside jokes for us.
Baby-
Smaller, dumber Groot.
There's going to be little itty bitty baby Groot poops all over the house. Yeah, that's what he's
Fucking
saying.
cute was he?
Super cute.
Oh, yeah.
Like
So,
stupid.
now,
And when he
hold on.
goes to sleep on Drax's shoulder.
Oh yeah. No, so okay, hold on. So Jarreth, you, my friend, you at first were kind of concerned about Baby Groot because you thought they were probably going to play on that too
I
much.
was very worried they were going to try to lean on it
Milk
since
it.
it was
Like
that
what?
was like if you watched any of the reactors to like the trailer, everybody latched onto Baby Groot.
However,
immediately.
I understand that because I told my wife you could tell from the trailers that they knew they were onto something after the first movie and Groot went crazy. Like the mania for Groot went crazy. They're like, we have to play Groot the fuck up in the next one.
It's
because it will draw people to the theater.
But then they didn't.
Balanced it perfectly.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way they opened, I felt that. I was
dance?
like, oh boy.
Yeah, I was
That
worried.
dance?
Please don't tell me this is going to be the Groot movie.
It was adorable.
It's adorable as shit, but then I was starting to get a little bit worried. I'm like, exactly what we talked about.
Yep.
But no, you're right. It was perfectly balanced and interspersed through all the rest
Yep.
of this drama and action that was going on.
He served his purpose in so many different ways. That whole intro scene of him dancing around,
Which is
and all
fantastic
that
because
good
he's
stuff.
dancing, but if you just ignore him for a second and look in the background, fucking insanity was happening with that
but
thing.
that happens twice throughout the movie. I
Yeah,
noticed this,
yeah.
this happens twice. There's two separate moments where you're focused on what's happening. This kind of almost quiet but very important thing happening. And the first one is that
Yeah.
where it's Groot plugging in the music and then literally dancing around where there is just mass chaos happening behind
And the
them.
second one's with the bomb.
with
the
the bomb.
bomb,
That's
yep.
exactly right. So there are
Both
two
of those were the bomb one was in the trailer, and
Yes.
it was gold.
Yes.
In the living
so,
planet.
but with that, they did something actually, in my opinion, super genius. They took a moment where it's like there's a lot of combat and action going on, which me as a viewer would like to see. But at that moment, I didn't care because I was more focused on what it was that was happening right there because it was worthwhile.
Well, they also took both of those moments and they very cleverly wrote their way around what would otherwise be a very expensive
Oh, it's
and a
super
very
expensive.
potentially annoying thing to write.
Yes.
Because both of those fights, like, how were they surviving in
Yes.
that giant drone battle?
Yes. You don't know. They just did.
It doesn't
There's
matter.
like 5 or 6. There's literally 6 of them at that point in time, and
Yeah.
no 7.
Well, one's in a busted up construction heap that's not got guns. So, like, that thought crossed my mind, but mostly I was concerned with the I am Groots.
I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. No, that's not the button you push. And Jarreth, you made a really funny statement after the fact.
Oh, yeah. Whenever he puts the bomb up there, I really wish that...
Phrasing.
Yeah.
When he puts the bomb up there.
So
I gotcha.
no, it's the moment at the very end whenever he finally gets to
Yeah.
Ego's core, where
And
its
he-
brain is, and he
he
puts the
attaches
bomb
it.
on there. So go
And
ahead.
he almost presses the bad button,
Yeah.
The
but it's
death
like
instant
specifically cracked now. I wish that he had pressed it and it just didn't work anymore.
That
Like,
after
it
like
had been
be
broken.
funny.
after like 1 or 2 times of going click click,
He's just
going,
like, I'm just going to try the other one now.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah,
I would have been
Good
okay with
catch.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice pull.
because they very specifically showed it to begin with, and it was fine. But then when he gets down there, it's got a split in it.
because him and the
He
bomb
being
were being
crushed,
crushed.
yeah.
So I think that would have. I think that was a slightly missed opportunity. But oh well, it was still great.
So backpedal just a little bit here. So very beginning of the movie, we're introduced to Groot and everybody, and they're in this fight, and they're protecting these batteries, and that's
For the sovereign.
For the
for the
sovereignty.
sovereign. For the sovereignty, and yeah,
They're
there's
just
Wait,
called
hold
the
on.
sovereign.
yeah.
Hold on, though. So you can't skip over Elizabeth Debicki playing Priestess Aisha.
I love that.
I want to fuck the living shit out of that woman. I saw her and I was like, she's in solid gold. Then I looked her up and I was like, who is this? Right? Because I was like, who is the girl who plays her? I looked her up. She's from Great Gatsby. And she's hot, but she's not as hot when she's not painted in all gold with her hair slicked back. And I'm like, I just want to get really goldy
Let's see
with
here.
her.
Scroll.
She's
Where's she? Is she on this? There you go, right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
she's-
her.
Yeah, but she's so much
She has
hotter.
a
when
really
she's-
long neck.
Yeah, she does. I love a long neck though. Man.
Do you?
Yep, neck and shoulders. Oh, that's hot.
Yeah.
So all the more to bite on. But she,
Well,
Oh, we're learning things about you
Yeah,
all
I
over
mean,
the place
it's-
oh
today.
yeah, like I saw her and I was like, oh, please.
So-
And she was angry all the time. I'm
yeah.
like, oh, please get haughty.
I
with
think
me.
I actually.
Be self-righteous.
So when I was
Nasty
watching the
girl.
trailers for these things, we're gonna put Shawn on ice for a moment here. While I was watching these things, I kind of got a different feel for what these particular characters were. Like I really thought that they were like super uppity and rigid, but they're kind of not. They're very pretentious.
But
Right,
in a
they
Spock-like way.
look down at everybody, but not like that. Not even that, like because they were mean and condescending to even one another, and then everyone else around them.
But
It's
that's what I'm
just that
saying.
they
To
think,
them, it's logical behavior.
You think that's what it is?
To them, it's just that's how you are. They don't know any
I
different.
wouldn't call it
They don't think of
logical so much as that is specifically it's an emotional behavior. I am the best.
That's what it is.
I specifically am the best, and by extension, we are the best.
Right.
But I am the best first.
Yeah.
Right. It extends even within their own subculture.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I am the best of the equals.
So as we're going through, Rocket steals their batteries, which is what they were there to protect to begin with.
So fucking funny.
And he steals them, and then they're leaving, and then everyone's chasing them, and Peter's like, "Why are they chasing us?" And immediately, Drax is like, "Oh, it's probably because of all the batteries that he stole." And he was like, "Dude, why would you tell them that?" And he's like, "Oh wait, I totally mean he didn't steal any of those things, and I don't know why this." Rob Zombie's in this movie.
Who the hell is Rob Zombie?
Rob Zombie's in this movie as an unseen Ravager.
What?
Oh, dude, that's fucked up. Why do you make him an unseen Ravager?
He's in this movie.
He's perfect to be a Ravager.
He's scrolling down, and
You know
I'm
who
like,
he should have
Rob
been?
Zombie? What?
You know who he should have been then if they're going to put him in the movie?
Taserface?
No, that scene when they're tracking
Taserface.
when they're hunting down a rocket and he's blowing the propulsion things and they're all flying up in the air.
Un momento, por favor. Mainframe, the voice of, uncredited, is Miley Cyrus.
That scene where Rocket's pushing those repulsion devices and they're all flying up in the air. The one slow-mo scene where the guy center, that should have been Rob Zombie.
think so?
That would have been awesome. People would have been, like, some people
would have
been
recognized
like,
it immediately.
yes!
It's Rob Zombie. Yeah, no, he's scrolling down through this list, and I look over here, and I'm like, Rob Zombie's in this movie? What the?
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus is in it, yeah. As the voice of one of the things. Anyway, go ahead.
It's worth mentioning that this movie is more of the same of the first movie.
Kind of.
There isn't anything different about it, but it is in every way more of the same.
So,
because it is funnier in the same ways that the first one is funny, but then it is also heartfelt in the same ways that the first one was heartfelt, but to a different extent.
I was going to say, to a different extent.
I had a friend who asked me, they were like, does Peter's dad show up like right at the very end? And no, it's not the case.
No,
so
it's actually the crux of the
as soon as they escape the sovereignty and crash, because they crash, he shows up like immediately, and which I thought was super cool.
Because I would have assumed that was going to be like an at the end, and the sovereign was the chief conflict.
That's kind of the way they painted that picture. Whenever you're watching the trailers, is that's what it was, right? And then it's not. And then the whole movie is them going with Peter's dad. Well, not all of them, because Rocket and Nebula stay behind while they're working on the ship, and
Baby Groot.
And Baby Groot's there, and watching Rocket take out all of the Ravengers
is so amazing
because he
takes such joy in what he does.
He's like, I know good and well that we're still being hunted, so I'm gonna set a trap for literally anybody that comes after us. And that's exactly what he does, and he just starts wrecking them. And that moment when one of the Ravengers looks at him and he's like, "You're not so tough without all your toys," and he proceeds.
He just starts whipping their ass. Yeah,
he beats down one of them and then jumps off him and beats down the other dude. It's beautiful. And speaking of beautiful, visually, everything on Ego's planet
was gorgeous,
stellar looking. It's beautiful. Yeah. So the premise of the movie is that Ego is our bad guy, and you don't discover that until like the third
2/3 of the way through.
Yeah, it's about the third act, roughly. Whenever it starts to get into the middle of it, and what has happened is he has literally spread his seed across the galaxy.
He's been creating other Celestials.
No, I'm talking about the seeds.
Oh, well, those seeds and his seed.
There you go. He's doing both.
Yeah, he's planting literal seeds of plants that are parts of his planet.
Yes,
and
upon
then he's
other worlds.
Also planting his seed in
people
other species.
Of those worlds. And the reason he's doing this is he needs a second Celestial in order for his plan to work.
To generate more light so that he can then turn those seeds on the planet into more of him.
Into an extension of him. And so he himself...
Thus becoming the entirety of the galaxy.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's another version of like the singularity. And you find out that through this, you find out that Yondu has been bringing him his children. All of the children.
Hundreds of children.
That's why he was contracted to bring Peter to ego. That's what that was supposed to have been in the first movie. And the reason we find out later on, and the reason he doesn't actually follow through with this is because Yondu, although he's kind of a dumb guy, he's actually kind of clever. And he picked up what was going on with these kids, even though Ego was like...
They weren't showing back up again.
Yeah, there was reasons why. And so...
he kept Peter and raised him.
Peter, and because he was like, I wasn't going to take you to this guy. That guy's an asshole. Just like he keeps saying. I'm taking this dude kids, and those kids aren't around anymore. I can only imagine the worst, even though, the guy's telling me that it's not the worst. So whenever he gets Peter, he felt something, he had a soft, squishy moment, and he decided to keep him. And so that's where we end up with, because there's this conflict throughout the thing. Like, there's that moment during the campfire where they're like, well, I thought Yondu was your dad.
Yeah.
And he's like, you thought Yondu was my dad?
He's like, one of us is blue, and he's like...
Yeah, Drax is like,
confused.
He's like, I don't
You
understand.
look the same.
He's just like, I thought Yondu was your dad. He's like, you thought Yondu was my
Relative,
dad?
yeah.
Yeah, and then there was that moment when, Sylvester Stallone shows up. Because Sylvester Stallone's in this movie.
Saw that.
Yeah, you did. And he's supposed to be like one
sort
of the,
like
the head guys for
the Ravagers.
The Ravagers.
Yeah.
And a part of the Ravager code is not...
his actual character, I forget his name, is actually a pivotal character in the Guardian storyline,
right,
comic-wise.
Right.
He and the leaders of the other Ravager groups. And there's talk that they're going to, because they are a prominent part of the actual comic books, that they are going to be focused on in the next film. But James Gunn said that he's very confident they won't get their own film.
Right.
But there will be definitely some focus on them.
Well, I mean, they even had that whole, A-team coming together thing there
scene,
at the end.
yeah. And I figured that was the foreshadowing with the placement of that. But it was kind of cool to see Stallone. You hear his voice first, and instantly you're like, yes!
I heard a guy seated behind us going on about them and how they think that, these are the guys that are going to go through and ultimately steal some of the Infinity Stones, and that's what's going to cause them to be drawn together. And I'm like, I don't know if I buy that or not.
So, speaking of, since we're here, this is another Marvel movie where we don't get to see an Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
And
but
we definitely saw something that's going to lead up to one.
Yes.
Exactly. And so, that's where the debate is. According to James Gunn, okay,
this is not a direct setup for
it has nothing to do with the stones. Period. There's no reference. There's no visual. This isn't.
Okay,
this is just part of the continuing storyline.
I get what you're saying, but Adam Warlock is in fact tied with the Infinity Stones.
Which I'm sure in the third one there will be some tie together. What I'm saying is here we don't know anything about that.
Okay, so part of what I think. Go ahead.
I was just going to say because we're on this last Infinity Stone that's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
the Soul Gem.
Yeah, and Missy had a theory, and I was like, no.
Well,
but I think it's worth mentioning because she's not a comic book fan, so she put herself out there. She's like, she was doing the mental deduction. She all of a sudden remembered the trailer for Thor Ragnarok, and she's like, what about that crazy bitch who broke the hammer thing in the trailer? And I was like, broke the hammer thing? I'm like, you mean the crazy bitch that smashed Mjolnir to pieces in the trailer?
Yeah.
And I told her, I don't think that's actually real. I think that's either a bad dream that he's having or a vision that's going to happen in the movie, but I don't necessarily, or that's not the real Mjolnir.
I'm ready to buy it.
So she thinks that might be where the final Infinity Stone comes in. That's why she's able to smash Mjolnir.
All right, time out. First and foremost, before we get into some of this stuff, I want to go through these.
You want to finish the plot line?
I do. I'm kind of wanting to go down this fan theory path here.
Okay.
So I know good and well, and I've been saying for months that I know good and well that the last Infinity Stone is going to show up in Ragnarok.
Right.
It's going to. That's where we're going to.
It's our last chance.
Yeah, no, but even with Spider-Man: Homecoming coming up, it's not going to be there.
Yeah, it's not a universe for that.
That's not going to be there.
Nope.
It will show up.
This is our
in
last
Ragnarok.
chance for it to be exposed.
So, there came a moment.
It looks like the Beyonder is going to possibly make a show. That might be Jeff Goldblum there.
Yeah.
If that's what this arena thing is.
He's the Grand Master. Sir. said so right there.
Call him what you want.
It said so right there.
That might be the title he's going by, but if this is the thing that's
Anyhow.
if that's what this is.
So,
Love me some Ian Malcolm.
yes. Anyhow, so with that, which I know what you're referring to, there came a moment in one of the earlier movies. Actually, it was Dark World. Yeah, there you go. Grandmaster. Jeff Goldblum, Grandmaster.
That's
Anyway,
a title, not
it's
a
title,
name.
yeah. Anyhow, so there is there's a moment where Thor is talking to Heimdall.
Okay. Oh, with the possibility that it's part of his armor.
That he has
Says, I can see all souls.
yeah.
Because he states that he can see all souls, right? And then at that exact moment, he's like, well, what's Jane doing? And he's like, well, let me check in on your human. I can't see her. And it's because she was in that pocket dimension with the Aether. Right?
Yep.
And so there is speculation that that's where the last Infinity Stone's at. Furthermore, from the trailers of what we're seeing for Thor Ragnarok, he doesn't have his armor.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you recall this or not. It's a subtle thing, but whenever what's his face?
Loki?
No. The Accuser.
Ronan the Accuser?
Ronan the Accuser. Thank you. Whenever he had the stone, his eyes did that whole purple, glowy, flickery thing. Well, Heimdall's do the yellow, glowy, flickery thing. Right?
Yep.
So there's some thought that might be where we're seeing the last Infinity Stone is with him. And that might be why he is supercharged in regards to what it is he does.
Okay. I like a theory.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I also firmly believe, and I know Jarreth and I have gone kind of round and round on this, that...
he still believes that Ragnarok is going to be a major component, or at least
I don't
a component.
think he's going to be a major component. I think he's going to be a component.
Yeah, the robot Thor.
The robot version of Thor. I still think that...
What do they call that again?
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
That was the
its
name of the
name
character.
is,
Okay, yeah,
its
that's
name
right.
is Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Anyhow, so I personally think that the Thor that we saw at the end of Doctor Strange there with Loki talking to Doctor Strange,
You don't think it's-
I don't think that's
actually Thor?
I don't think that's Thor at all.
Do you think it's Loki?
No, he thinks that it's...
I think it's the
Ragnarok.
duplicate.
Oh, Ragnarok.
I think it's the duplicate
Posing as
version. And even if they don't give it the title of Ragnarok, even if they don't follow that path, if it ends up being a duplicate version of Thor, in my mind, that's good enough, and that's their nod towards what Ragnarok was supposed to have been. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because in what we're seeing here, and like I said, we don't, as of right now, we don't know where that end credit scene for Doctor Strange lines up with the stuff that's coming down the pipes. And the last we saw prior to that was Loki acting as Odin. Mm-hmm. That's the last we saw of him.
Yep.
Because as far as Thor knew, Loki was dead.
Yeah.
As a result of the Dark Elves. So they killed him, and then he disappeared. Went
And
back
then
home,
Odin was actually...
overthrew Odin, and then Odin's gone. And then the next thing we see as far as their whole story arc goes is them sitting here with Doctor Strange, and they're like, yeah, we're back here on Earth looking for Dad. That's their thing.
That's funny.
Right?
Right.
And so for me, everyone is against Loki Earthside because they're like, you're the bad guy that showed up and did all the bad stuff, right?
Right.
So why would they give him permission to be there, right? So he needs a way of actually allowing this to happen. And so he's got this Thor replicant showing up in order to be there. And part of the whole thing for Ragnarok is, as far as what this goes, is it's supposed to be... It's supposed to be more than just a robot step in. It's supposed to be more or less him, right? And so that's why I think that's why he's here doing what it is he's doing. He's using this bot version to allow him access to Earth so they can then track down Dad, because he by himself isn't enough to take down Odin. So perhaps having this bot version coming with him to then try to bring him down, because ultimately he wants to be the one to rule and conquer Asgard, right? And so he's going to use every means he has to be able to do that. and I really think that's a thing. Did you like the Stan Lee Watchers?
Where he appears to be
Yes, dude.
describing his other cameos.
I know,
Right.
and what's funny is I love when they start to walk away and he's like, wait, guys, I have so many more stories to tell. And I'm like, that is fantastic.
Right.
That is fantastic. Hold on.
Yeah.
Since you decided to go down fan theory road.
Yeah, go for it.
This Redditor dude.
Redditor?
Yeah, well, guy on Reddit. But,
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so it's a Redditor. He has a fantastic fucking theory.
All right, we got.
Okay, so he thinks that it might have been under the God of War's nose the whole time. So firstly, he dismisses the idea that Heimdall has it, and that's what gives him the ability to see through the 9 realms, okay?
God of War.
Huh?
Thor?
Thor has it. Just wait, listen to this.
He's God of War and Thunder, Krakow.
Oh, yeah.
He says in
didn't
Thor,
sound right to me.
in the Thor Dark World post-credit scene, we see the Aether, which is the Reality Stone, is given over to the Collector.
Right.
And Volstagg says it's not wise to keep 2 Infinity Stones together, explicitly mentioning that the Tesseract is there.
Right.
So they probably don't knowingly have the last stone either. The theory suggests that the Soul Stone is on Asgard, hidden inside Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. This would explain why only people judged worthy by the stone are able to lift the hammer, and the Vision would be one of these, as Mjolnir's power was being used to bring him to life alongside the Mind Stone now embodied in his forehead. And there's precedent for the Infinity Stones powering weapons, such as the Power Stone that was in Ronin's hammer in Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Mind Stone that was hidden inside Loki's scepter, too. And unlike the comic book,
I wouldn't really
Mjolnir-
call it hidden since it was like
well,
on
glowing
top of
the
it.
fuck, yeah. And unlike the comic book Mjolnir, it's not been specified so far that Odin created the MCU's version of the hammer, so he might not even be aware that it was being kept in Asgard.
I mean, I suppose it's possible, but
And
I
then
don't.
that would explain, that leads right into the whole crushing of the hammer in the trailer.
So, like, she's crushing it to
crushing
get
it to get the stone out of it.
Perhaps.
How fucking cool would that be?
That is a pretty good...
So Hela destroys
plan.
Thor's hammer so that she can get to the Soul Stone, which would help her with the invasion of Asgard. So that would be a cool theory.
What do you think, Jarreth?
It's possible.
Yeah,
But I think that all of the other theories hold a bit more water.
I think so, too.
Specifically, it being part of Dickman's armor or his spear. Heimdall, that's the dude.
There you go.
Hyman.
The Heimlich.
Hyman.
Yeah. So all of these things are wonderful theories. We didn't see
I
anything.
definitely look forward to figuring it out.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
So we didn't see anything telling in the post-credit scenes
How awesome!
outside of
Did
the.
you stay for them all? Because there were 5.
Yeah,
we stayed for them
How
all,
awesome
trust
was
me.
it that they did them? Like, did you watch it, Monkey?
No, he hasn't seen
No.
it.
Okay, how cool was it they didn't just do a post-credit scene?
They did, like,
broke up-
intersperse.
Yeah, they interspersed it through the entire credits.
And there
I
were
like-
still people getting up and leaving right there at the very beginning. We were
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
That time,
That's
I played
awesome.
Sean.
I
I was like, "It's a Marvel movie," but I said it really loud.
What are you doing?
I especially
Don't
like
leave.
at the end of the
Post-
credits,
post-credits.
no raccoons or tree creatures were harmed in the making of this
But we
film.
can't say anything about the raccoon handlers.
Yeah.
That was great.
So no, there's a post-credit scene with Peter walking into Groot's room, and Groot is a teenager.
And Teenage Groot.
And a
teenage-
typical
I am
teenage asshole.
I am Groot. His voice is all cracky, and he's like, "How are you going to sit in here and play video games all day long? You need to pick some of this stuff up. Your vines are growing all over the place." Yeah, it's really
I'm
fun.
good.
I am
So
Groot.
I wonder if that's going to be his persona for
You think?
3.
So
I doubt it. I think that's
because
just,
of that-
I think that's just showing that
Yeah.
he is aging.
I thought the same thing, so I looked it up. And James Gunn said that while that was a fun little thing, they felt he wanted to explore that a little bit, which is why
But
that
Groot's
scene's in
just
there.
going to be back to
But
normal.
he'll be he said that Groot will be in some stage or another in the next film,
Yeah.
but he won't be in the teenage.
He won't be.
Okay.
He won't be Baby Groot, and he won't be like that.
I was kind of
Which is
hoping it
fine.
might start with him as teenage asshole Groot, but
I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping that he would start saying a few more things than "I am Groot."
He can't
kinda like-
physically.
Well, he has
Well,
factually.
he has. We are Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
we are Groot.
the difficulty of saying that because of his vocal cords
Yeah.
is next to impossible.
Well, I'm just saying he has in fact shown the ability to say something different than "I am Groot."
Also, he is
Specifically
always
in that order.
He is always saying something different than "I am Groot."
Right.
You just don't understand.
Exactly.
All right, I'll grant you that.
Because even in that last scene there, Peter seemed to
Peter seems to start to understand it. So
because he was like, "I am not boring."
So good. So good.
then again, he played like he knew what he was talking about in the first movie, and of course, Rocket's like, that's not what he said at all.
True.
But I think that's great that they're kind of showing that as they progress through here, they're becoming more cohesive. He's starting to understand Groot, and he knows what he's saying, right? They're becoming more family.
Yeah.
Well, and Peter and Gamora have relatively...
Get that.
Well, they've explained that they're essentially together.
The
Kind of.
unspoken thing.
Well,
The
it's specifically,
unspoken.
and it's
The
going to
unspoken
remain
thing.
unspoken for the reason that he stated.
Yeah, because
Right.
if you speak of it, then it's not the unspoken thing.
Yeah.
And once they
It's so great.
Once it's spoken, then it's...
and then the show loses all of its ratings. And-
Yeah.
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 However, can I just say I also would like Mantis to read some part of me.
No.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the...
That has nothing to do with your emotions.
yeah, no, that
there's
has
nothing to do with
it.
reading.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
So,
Where was your mind?
So we, I liked the moment where she finally gets fed up with, when Gamora finally gets fed up with his analogies, and she's like, "I don't know what Cheers is,"
Oh yeah.
because he's all he has is frame of reference is talking about all of the stuff
90s
from what he
Earth.
knows, right? And so as
80s
he's
Earth.
explaining these
80s
things,
Earth, yeah.
as he's explaining these things, he's using these throwbacks to stuff that
This
he
isn't
knows.
Cheers anymore.
Yeah, and she's like, "I don't know
Know
what Cheers is." So
How about when she breaks down and dances with him?
she does break down and dance with him,
Which
finally.
is really cool because they don't turn it into a thing.
Well-
she just does, you know? And then as soon as she realizes, wait, that it's starting to be a thing, then it's over.
Yeah, she clams up.
But
and
it's
is like,
great
"No."
because there's just a tiny glimpse as she's dancing.
You
with
will
him
tell no one, or I will
of a
kill you.
smile
Oh,
on
yeah.
her face, you know?
Like she's
she wants to enjoy life.
All right,
Well,
so
she's still
Gamora.
getting there as a character. 'Cause
Yeah.
she still comes from the same place that Nebula did.
Yeah, the fucked up household of Thanos.
Of course, she wasn't pulled apart because she was always more badass, but she still comes from that.
That's so sad.
Jarreth, what did you think of Nebula?
I actually liked her in this one.
I know, right?
She wasn't like. I've heard people like
in the first movie, she's really flippant,
She's so much more redeeming in this one.
Well, in the first movie, she isn't really a character.
right?
She's just kind of an obstacle, a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Cardboard villain.
And I've seen people like like saying like, "Oh, Karen Gillan did such a good job as Nebula," and really in one she didn't, and that's not her fault.
Right.
There wasn't. She was under obviously voice work, nothing to do there. She's basically talking through a synthesizer. And then there's no acting to really do except
Right.
for standing there and scowl.
And being flippant.
Yeah, and then
Thanks, Dad.
but in this one, she really comes into her own. She gets to actually do stuff and say some things.
Oh, I love how she takes over the
Yeah.
Ravengers like immediately.
Oh
Dude,
yeah, she's
yeah.
just like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
She's like, "Oh, by the way, you're all mine now."
Her promises line.
yeah.
I was like, yep.
Yeah.
Because they're talking
I am
about
yours.
they're talking about hurting her.
Yeah, this is going to hurt. Promises. I was like,
Who was
I
it?
am
Was it
yours.
Rocket that says that?
No, Yondu, because he's about to plug
Oh, that's
the
right. They're going
ship
to plug
into
the
her
whole
arm.
ship into her as means of turning the power to the
Guns
the
on.
guns back on. That was awesome. It's just everything about her in this really made me happy because she's still on this path towards trying to take out her sister,
Retribution.
and then that moment happens and she just doesn't. And she's like, "I just wanted a sister. Why couldn't you just be my sister?"
Yeah, and it's fucking sad as a motherfucker. But I love her moment. Like, I don't remember the name of the character, but the second in command for Yondu.
Oh yeah,
the
what is
other
that guy's
part.
name?
But he's like, "So what are you gonna do now?" And she like goes into this long tirade about these super fucked up plans, and he's like, "I just meant like,
Kraglin.
is it Kraglin?
Yeah,
Shawn Gunn? Yep.
Kraglin.
Who will forever be known as Kurt to me from Gilmore Girls.
But he was
He's the same character in every movie.
She's
a
like, what? He's like,
bumbling
what are you gonna do once you do? We get you
I'm
out.
gonna kill my sister.
And I'm gonna spend the rest of my time trying to track down and kill my father.
What's great is he's like, Okay, I was just thinking maybe something shiny, like a necklace
Or a dress.
Something to make all the other girls go, ooh, that's nice. And he's like, but good luck with that.
And he turns and walks away.
No, he says happy trails and then pats her on the shoulder.
Because he has no idea how to
very
deal
carefully,
with
very carefully.
He's like, yep, I'm going to go over here now.
Because how do you respond to that bullshit?
I know, right?
Hey, what are you going to do with your earnings?
I'm going to murder my entire family, and then I'm going to amass a wealth underneath me and create an army in order to overthrow, and you're like...
the Mad Titan
you're
himself.
Okay. I'm going to go back over here now.
Small world moment of pause.
Yeah.
Little trivia fact. So Shawn Gunn is actually the brother of James Gunn and the director.
Yeah.
Not surprising. Not actually small world.
It's one of those things. Like, so many times you see
one.
people with similar names in like Hollywood, and you're like, oh, I wonder if they're... No, they're not.
Yeah.
So, but he legit is, which is funny because I've seen him. Like I said, my exposure to him first was in Gilmore Girls as Kurt, who's a bumbling buffoon and an idiot.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
And his characters in 90% of the things he's been in are bumbling buffoons and idiots.
See, I have no idea what you're referring to because I never watched Gilmore Girls because I don't know what you're talking about.
When I saw him tatted up and mean looking as a Ravager, and
he's also in Super, which is another James Gunn movie.
Yeah.
It's nice that he puts his brother in stuff.
Yeah. He's not a bad actor.
No, he's not, but it's just funny to see him in this character because he's still kind of a bumbling buffoon, but he's kind of badass, too.
What did you think of...
the finals?
Of Taserface.
Taserface! No.
The guy,
best scene in the movie.
The guy who made the movie, obviously. Like, he's the best.
The best scene in the movie.
They've made action figures of him.
Forget all the other comical scenes with Drax and everything else. Best scene in the movie is when he's burnt to a crisp and he gets on the comms to the Sovereign
and
he says, "I'm sending you the coordinates for Quill's ship,
for Yondu's ship." Yeah.
And he goes, "I only ask that you make sure he knows the name of the man responsible." And he goes, "Taserface," and she busts up
at him.
laughing. So the last thing in the world he sees before he dies is someone else mocking him for his fucked up name.
I still love the scene before that with
Rocket
sitting there, and he's like, I like the idea of getting up in the morning and looking yourself in the mirror and being like, Taserface.
What did he say? What was your first choice? What was your second choice? He's like, what was your second choice like? Scrotum head or something like that. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
He was on a tear for like 20 minutes.
Rocket was wrecking it is what he was doing it. And so that whole thing was amazing. I loved every bit of that. Yondu, Michael Rooker is in this is just...
He's
outstanding.
Fantastic. He's one of the best character actors in the business.
I think the moment where he gets a hold of Rocket, and was it Rocket where he looks at him, he's like, "Give me this."
Yeah, that's Rocket.
That was Rocket, where he's like, "No, you have to give me this," because he's planning on sticking around.
I've messed up everything I've done.
You got to give me this.
Yeah,
and he's planning on sticking around because during the final fight scene where they're taking out Ego, they've got to blow up literally the entire planet because Ego is the planet. And good luck escaping that, because not only was it them fighting Ego, but it was also the Sovereign showing up and tearing them up there for a little while. Unfortunately, Mantis managed to put Ego to sleep right there at the very beginning. But then for
at least a little while.
Then she gets knocked out, which you knew that was going to happen. And Drax ends up saving the day with her and then drags her out of there.
Peter gets to have like a Dragon Ball Z fight with his dad.
Where they're flying around all supercharged.
And he turns into Pac-Man for a minute, which was fucking awesome.
Dude, that was amazing when he turned into Pac-Man.
Yes.
He's like, oh, I'm going to build so much... Shit's going to get super weird.
Before you even get to that is when he's talking to him, telling him that he can... When Ego's telling him he can build stuff. And he's like, I'm gonna build like an 80-foot tree with a... I don't even remember what he says.
He's like, I'm gonna make Pac-Man. And he's talking about all the stuff.
Yeah, and then he goes, I'm gonna make all kinds of weird shit. Things are gonna get weird.
He got so happy about it.
And then when he forms Pac-Man, it was the best.
I actually, before we get to the final fight scene, I do want to mention one thing, and that's where Mantis was like, "Hey, bad shit's going on. You guys need to get out of here. I should have told you all this stuff beforehand." And chances are Ego has already set his hooks into Peter. and he has a way of doing that. And literally, Peter is sitting here all starry-eyed, right?
Oh, God,
actually,
yeah.
factually starry-eyed because
He's seeing the
is-
universe.
He has, fucking Ego reached over and thumped him on the forehead, and he was like, "Look, you can look at this." And he's looking around all over the place, and you can actually see stars in his eyes. And he's
But
like,
instead of
he's like,
going
"It's
with the
so
super
beautiful."
cliched mind control theme,
Yeah, he's like, it's so beautiful. And he's like, and of course, Ego's telling him his plan, essentially, right? And then comes that moment when Ego makes a mistake. And he's like, felt real bad about having to go back and giving you.
it killed me to put that tumor in her head.
And he's,
dude.
and immediately,
Oh my god.
immediately his eyes go back to normal, and he's like,
Gunslinger mode.
he like leans forward, and he's like, "What did you say?" And it's just as
It snaps, and it's so fucking fast. And I was like, I've never seen Peter Quill actually be badass. He's cool, and he gets shit done. But that moment, he turned into a fucking force of death.
He was like,
and he just, and you just see pieces. You just see pieces flying off of Ego, and he's like, it reminded me of Teeth 2. He's like,
he's just like, just the moment, and it's. I don't know if it was the look on his face or the tone in his voice or a combination of the two, but him just going, "What did you say?" And everybody in the crowd could feel it, and you were immediately like, "Oh, son, you just done screwed up."
Well, it was another iteration of a scene that we've seen before in another very good Marvel film, Civil War.
Yep.
Whenever Tony Stark finds out that
Winter Soldier
killed his mom,
he's like, "Excuse me?
this is happening no matter what you say."
There's no backpedaling from this. This is happening.
going down.
I am pissed, and you're gonna die. Someone is dying as a result of this, and so all of this is happening. And then he breaks Peter's Walkman.
dude.
He crushes it.
You know what? That scene for me was like, the age-old
Quit
adage.
slapping your
I
microphone.
didn't mean to. The age-old adage, there's several things you don't mess with: a man's money, his wife, or his car. At that moment, I was like, you don't fuck with Quill's Walkman. Like,
He crushed it.
that's Star-Lord's Walkman.
That's also like
crushed
his
it.
last thing from Earth.
From his mom.
from his
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
dude.
that's his gateway to the past.
That
So
is
sad.
That is his anchor to everything. And so that happens, and that's pretty much what kickstarts the final fight scene, is the fact that Peter's like, "You motherfucker, you're gonna die. If I have to go to hell and back again, you're gonna die 1,000 times over." And he does. He goes after him. And then this fight takes off. They put him to sleep. The Sovereignty shows up. Flash forward as Peter and Yondu are lowering themselves down to where everybody else is, and Yondu's holding onto his little arrow. And Peter looks at him and he goes, "You remind me of
Mary Poppins.
And he goes, "Is he cool?" And he goes,
Yeah,
"The
dude.
coolest." And he says, "I'm Mary
Hey guys,
Poppins."
I'm Mary Poppins.
He says, he's landing, and he says, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all."
Yeah,
The
it
best
was
part
so
about
good.
that, though, is Peter isn't saying that as a joke. He's looking at Yondu and he's kind of realizing in that moment
Yeah.
that Yondu is cool, and that he's made this joke, but he's like, holy shit, that's the moment.
Yeah.
So that's why he goes back to he's the coolest.
Yeah.
And it's not like ironic or he's messing with him.
Yeah, he's just like, he's the coolest. He's like, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all."
And no one corrects him because
Because
nobody
no one
can.
knows. And so there's that whole thing, and there's the whole scene where he's talking about, I don't use my mind to control the
use
arrow.
my heart.
I use my heart, and so
Classic.
that's how Peter's able to start to control the light and actually do some pretty amazing things. And then that's where you start to actually get this whole, "I might not have been your father, but
I'm sure as hell was your
I'm
daddy.
sure as hell was your daddy." And
Which is it's a pretty overdone thing.
kind
but
of, but with this
still,
was kind of cool.
Very good. I very much enjoyed it.
And the last thing that I really enjoed,
You
right
threatened
here,
to eat me. I was being funny. Not to me.
but all of this, it's an emotional roller coaster, and I think that's what I loved about it all. And then there comes that moment at the very end when everybody's aboard the ship except for Peter.
And Yondu.
And Yondu. And Rocket is closing the doors, and Gamora's like, no, I'm going back.
And he fucking tases her.
Fucking shoots her with a taser gun and puts her on her
I
ass.
can't lose 2 friends today.
And he shuts the
That
door.
was deep, yeah.
And fucking Drax is like, where's Quill? And he's starting to go down there, and they're like, no, fuck it, we're leaving. Like, now, we're leaving. And there came that moment when Yondu dies in space, and...
That's fucked up.
Yeah, like, but everything, oh man, it was, like I said, it's such an emotional roller coaster through everything.
It was something that they set up super hard. It wasn't meant to be a shocker, but it was still like, it hits you.
Yeah, it does.
It hits you hard.
And like,
it wasn't...
Yondu in the first movie, I give 2 shits about him.
It wasn't a sucker punch.
Yeah.
It was a slow wind-up,
yeah.
and you're seeing the fist
Like,
coming.
you're watching it, and you're presenting your chin, like, this is happening, and I'm okay with this.
You're like,
And,
this is going to hurt.
yep, this is going to be bad, but this is where the story needs to go. And then it does, and you're like,
Damn
oh,
it.
that connected hard. But yeah, Rocket and Yondu looking at one another, and Yondu's like, I know all these things. You play like you're tough. You push everyone away. You do all these
You're
things.
me.
You're me. I am this. I know all this because you are who I am. And suddenly you're like, holy shit. Yondu and Rocket are kind of the same person.
But you don't really... in one, because of all of the time constraints with bringing the characters together and learning who they are... We don't have time to really get to know any of them too heavy or to really see them being used to their full potential.
Hold on, though. Before you get to... I want to talk about the fact that they brought a fucking meme into the movie. When Peter calls Rocket a trash panda.
Yeah.
So, we won't go into it too deep.
No, he calls him a trash panda. Dire Monkey. He calls him a raccoon. He's like, don't call me a raccoon. I'm not a raccoon. He's like, all right, you little trash panda. And then Rocket just looks oblivious. He's like, is that better? And he's like, oh yeah, it's totally better. And he looks at everybody else. He's like, it's
Drax
much worse.
Drax is like, it's worse. And then Peter's like, it's so much worse. And they do high fives. But what's great about this is, we won't go in depth in it. You guys can look it up on your own. If you don't spend half of your life on the Chive, you don't know what you're missing. But there is a thread that's famous on the Chive. It's called Stoners Name Animals. Please go read this thread.
Is that the one with the danger noodle?
Yes. Or the Nope Rope. The Nope Rope is a snake.
Yeah, so is the danger noodle.
It's fucking amazing. If you haven't read the thread, please go check it out.
They're worth it. Yeah.
The trash panda was exactly what a raccoon was labeled as. And it's so fucking fitting.
A trash panda. They call him a trash panda, and they call him a triangle-headed dog.
Yeah.
And-
Can I pet your triangle-headed dog?
Yeah, like-
Mantis says.
Everything.
No, she said, your triangle-headed puppy.
Yeah.
And then
Oh my
Drax
God.
is like, he thinks about it for a second. He's like,
It's that smirk
yes,
and that quiet
yes,
nod, and he's like, "Yeah,
yes,
totally,
do."
yeah, totally do that."
And Rocket almost bites the shit out of her.
I loved
it. was
it.
great.
So, like I said, everything about this movie, emotional roller coaster, up down, fantastic. I couldn't recommend
Great
it enough.
action.
Jarreth, do you have any final notes on this?
Definitely go see it.
Yeah.
If you haven't. You'll probably like it. If nothing else, you will enjoy the film if you're not a total ass.
Right,
You may not like it as much as we did or as much as the first one.
right.
But
You
there's
might be one of those people that's like the first one was better, and that's fine.
But there is a really solid chance that you will super love this movie.
Yup. Hey, Shawn, final thoughts?
It's fucking amazing. It's really, really good. And even if you don't enjoy it more than the first one, you'll still enjoy it for the wild ride that it is, and for the action, and the fact that it brings some levity to some of the the characters and themes in the show or in the movie. So fantastic! It's a definite must watch.
Absolutely,
it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with all of this information more. Dire Monkey, I know you haven't seen. You have any closing thoughts for anything over here at Spellbook Studios and the things you guys got going on?
We do have some new things coming up here soon, besides the Huppo gearing up.
Yeah.
But can't really go into details on them right now.
That
but
works.
just keep an eye on the forums. Keep an eye on the Steam updates. We are updating Heroes of Dire probably this week with another new patch, new update. So
Good deal.
some things changing there.
Hey, Shawn, Geek.0.
Yeah, so guys, check us out at Geek.0. That's geek.0.com, GeekPoint0.com, as well as on all the social medias. Our Facebook and Twitter are constantly keeping up to date with all the latest news in tech, gaming, and pop culture. So check us out, follow us. We are giving away, I can officially announce, in the month of May, a copy of Mario Kart 8 for the Switch. So if you are a Mario Kart fan and you do not yet have it, we will be posting the giveaway in the next couple days. So very excited.
Rock on. Jarreth, you have anything over there at
No.
the Flick Freaks?
No.
No? Okay.
Anything in your personal life?
Yeah, you feeling okay? You hungry?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, then we won't go get food. And this has been us over here at All Tower Media's Spoilercast, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and checking us out, and you all have yourself a safe evening.
Trash Panda. Trash Panda.
Bye.
Would you stop that?